Hi everybody, my name is Tony Lankford. I'm the executive producer of the Actors Lounge. And as you probably know, the Actors Lounge is a television program that brings you actors' interviews here from locally in Philadelphia, New York, and also Atlanta, and also some behind-the-scenes looks at some of the Hollywood's hottest movies, and also some movie trailers as well. So I want you to sit tight and enjoy yourselves. We're going to have a great show.
Quiet on the set. Take one. Action!
My name is John Zach. I'm an actor in Philadelphia here. Well, I guess I started professionally in 1995. I had just graduated from Villanova University with a master's in theater. Before that, I did nothing in theater. I knew nothing of theater or about theater. I was basically a class clown, and my undergraduate degree is in political science, for example, with minors in history and German. I got into acting because, well, there were just too many people from too many different walks of life, from too many different backgrounds, always asking me, "Wow, you're funny. Have you ever thought about going into acting?" And so I thought, well, let me finish what I started, my undergraduate, and then see. And so I figured, well, I need to go back. Well, I always harken back to this one memory I have. My mother took my sisters and I shopping to the mall, and I saw for the first time somebody with cerebral palsy, and it just kind of struck me. So when I got home, I decided I was wondering what it must be like to be that person, to have to walk that way and move that way. And so I was in our living room, because, you know, in white bread suburbia, nobody uses the living room. And I was just practicing and what it must be like working with the furniture. And I was only like 8 years old. And my eldest sister caught me and then screamed at me, you know, that I shouldn't be making fun. But I tried to explain that I wasn't making fun. I was just trying to see what it was like. And I guess that's always been in me, to try to experience life from a different viewpoint, to try and walk in another's shoes, even if it is just for, you know, an hour or two, and just explore that different side of humanity, if you will. There's always a side that's always present in the part that's outside looking in. If something falls, a prop falls on stage that needs to be got at some point, I'll note it, but continue on with the scene and try to find a way to get to it and correct it. That said, the main focus is to be always present in hearing the other person's lines for the first time, so I can react in a new way, or in a way of listening, letting it, and discovering what they're saying, each time. They're saying it every performance. But sometimes if the actor varies their intonation of their line, then that helps. There's, I think, especially in a play where there's a large cast, I would feel very reticent about changing things up too much, because there are too many people relying on the fact that you're going to hit that mark at that point in the play, and there is some subtle variation, say if how I'm going to say a particular line. You know, I'll be going through my lines and suddenly it'll hit me. I think that word needs a little bit more stress, and I haven't been giving it that kind of stress, so I'll try and, you know, land on that a little bit more. Let me try that this performance, but I don't think you can vary it too much, and not have success. Also, I mean, after weeks of rehearsal, you've been doing it this same way for time, you know, time and time again, and that is what the director saw, and that's what the stage manager expects. So you're, in a way, locked into the product of all those weeks of rehearsal. Well, you never quite know what may happen. There's a certain quality of nervousness that is always there. I remember I was, what play was that? I think it was, I was doing Winter's Tale, and I think I was suffering from a cold or something, and I was about to go on, and I felt, oh, I don't feel nervous. I just didn't feel nervous at all. Like, oh, let's get this over with. And then that started bothering me because I've never not felt nervous. And then as soon as the house lights went down and the stage lights came up, suddenly it hit me and I was nervous. And I was like, oh, good. Well, when I'm not in a stage play, I do comedy sports, which is competitive improvised comedy. It's similar to Whose Line Is It Anyway, only in that we play the same similar games, but we actually have two teams and a referee, and we play on a green turf, and we score points, and it's done as a sporting format. And there's 20-some franchises around the country, so members get together once a year for a tournament to exchange different ideas of what works, new games they've been working on. So that's always fun. Well, I don't really have anything in line. I have an audition coming up next week, and I just have to set up auditions. Although one other thing I did leave out was that when I'm not working in anything else, I also work part-time as a standardized patient. I pretend to be a patient for medical students. It's kind of acting. Read, become literate, try to understand language, because so much of what we do is just to convey the feelings and sentiments of what people say. A lot of what people say is how they feel or what their opinions are, and a lot of that is written by brilliant playwrights who choose words very carefully. So understanding why a playwright chose one word over another or phrased a certain sentence in a particular way will inform you as to how to play your character. That and audition. And if you don't get the audition, then say, oh well. So many people get down on themselves because maybe they haven't worked in a while or they can't get cast. But never give up, because you audition. As long as you do that audition well, you've done your job. You can't make them choose you. And that decision of casting is completely out of your hands. So the best you can do is do a brilliant audition. My name is John Zach. I'm an actor.
Hey everybody, this is Tony Lankford, the executive producer of the Actors Lounge here in Philadelphia. And I'm at 13th and Sampson at Capogiro Gelato with my good friend John Ritano, the owner and operator. Hey John, how you doing?
Hey Tony, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Tell us about Capogiro, what it's all about, what you're doing, who you are.
Well, Capogiro Gelato Artisans was started 4 years ago by my wife and I. Having been born in Italy and having taken trips there, but primarily growing up in the United States, I always wondered why we didn't have authentic Italian gelato in the United States. So we began our research after a trip to Capri about 5 years ago. And as we researched Italy, what we realized are that the gelato producers who make everything by hand, make all their flavors, create their own bases, are inevitably the busiest gelaterias in any town. So when we started doing research, what we came to realize 5 years ago was that there was all this groundswell of activity, and that gelato, much like coffee, was going to have quite a large expansion throughout the United States. So what we then did is work real hard at primarily my wife Stephanie, creating recipes that were going to allow us to be successful if we were to open in Italy, as opposed to making more of a pre-made gelato. And now here we are 4 years later. We have a wholesale business, we have a second store, and we're having a good time.
That's good. Now you said you've been here for 4 years. I would imagine you've seen the area change since the first time you got here.
Sure. As Stephanie likes to say, you know, this is a place where you used to come for wigs and porn, and slowly Tony Goldman has found tenants, and many actually think this is one of the go-to neighborhoods in Philadelphia.
That's great. Now, I know Capogiro has more than gelato. What else do you have here?
Well, we thank you. We're fashioned after a cafe. In Italy, there are about 20,000 to 25,000 gelaterias. And so we wanted to create a gelato cafe experience where you come in, you get coffee, cappuccino prepared in a similar fashion as you would in Italy. Panini, we make soups in the winter. And then Steph likes to identify artisanal candy producers and bring them in to round out the concept.
Now, being on 13th and Sampson and being a gelato shop, you're surrounded by what other types of businesses here?
Well, when we opened, I think Tony Goldman had a restaurant across the street, and that closed, I think, within a month after we opened. So really, we were the only business here. Since that time, Steven Starr opened El Vez, a Mexican restaurant where Trust used to be, and they're across the street. There's a restaurant called Lolita. They've also, the same owners have opened a grocery store and a home furnishing store. There's a wine bar down the street called Vintage, and I believe now on 12th Street there's a new tea place, and the neighborhood's changing too.
Yeah, so you're in very good company.
Yes, yes.
And basically, what type of clientele do you get here? Do you get shoppers? Do you get neighborhood people? Do you get out-of-towners? What do you?
We get everything. It was actually interesting. you know, in the beginning we would have, you know, women from the main line pull up in their car, look around somewhat nervously, run in, get a gelato, and peel out. Since then, people felt a little bit safer in the neighborhood. But one of the things I think that's really interesting is, you know, everybody's always asking what our demographic, but based on 13th Street, we have everybody. One of my favorite stories actually was a guy that was sort of a borderline street person, and you know, we opened in the middle of a freezing winter, which wasn't the smartest thing to do. And he came in and he wanted eggs, and I was trying to explain to him what we did and how we made gelato and all the other things, and he looked around and he looked at me and he goes, you put all this place together and you got no eggs? I said, no. He said, good luck. So what I then did before I left, I said, well, here, taste this gelato. And this guy, you know, to make the gelato the way we do is not inexpensive, and the ingredients we buy are not inexpensive. But after tasting it, he pulled out his last few crumpled dollars and had to get a gelato in the middle of January.
Wow.
So I felt like we were on to something.
Yeah, that's a beautiful story. Speaking of stories, has there been anything that has been really positive since you opened that really warmed your heart, other than that story that you just told me now?
Well, I think, you know, having opened Capogero Gelato has been just overall very gratifying to us. We have many people who will come into Philadelphia for a convention. Someone from San Diego speaks to a friend in Boston, I'm going to Philadelphia for a convention. The person from Boston is telling the person coming in from San Diego, well, you have to go to Capogero Gelato. And so, you know, creating that kind of fervor has been very gratifying.
Now, any famous people, any movie stars or stage stars come into your establishment?
I think there was the Eagle players have been in, and I forget the woman that was played for the U.S. soccer team. She was in, but we also shipped gelato, and I believe gelato was shipped to Neil Armstrong and Laura G. Giada De Laurentiis.
That's great. So, do you have any favorite movies?
I have a lot of favorite movies. I guess One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest was one of the good ones. Big Jack Nicholson fan, yeah.
Classic movie.
Yeah, sure.
Right. You do any traveling?
Well, this business has us traveling. We go to Italy. We try to go at least once a year, and go there for inspiration and ideas. But for the most part, it's been, you know, other than a road trip to Chicago this past year, which was great. You know, we're busy growing Capogero.
Speaking of growing the business, you do have another location. Where is that located?
It's actually 7 blocks down the street, but in Philadelphia, you know, as they say, you need a passport to cross Broad Street. So it's different. It's a different neighborhood, and it's been a successful endeavor.
That's great. Now, what do you have coming up? Any big plans? You're going to be opening more stores, or are you going to just continue to grow these 2 locations?
We're in the midst of a lot of different ideas. We've had some people invest in the company, and depending on the scale of the investment, that will determine whether our growth is sort of slow and steady versus a little bit more accelerated. One thing that's absolutely critical to us is that we stay in control in terms of the product. A lot of investors have come in and said, well, you know, I know how you can make more money. You can buy milk for a lot less than what you're paying for right now, and that's just not an option for us. So finding people who are willing to invest and buy into your vision is what we're trying to accomplish.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Very good. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been John Rattano here at Capogero Gelato at 13th and Sampson. John, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot,
Good talking
Tony.
to you.
That's an interesting question. My name is Grace Gonglewski, but my full name is Jeanette Grace Gonglewski, and in a couple of unions, I'm Jenny Grace. just Jenny Grace. So if you call and you say, and you ask for Jenny Grace, I know that you're pretty much a voiceover person. And if you call and ask for Grace Gonglewski, I know that you're pretty much a theater person. Yeah, or my friend. I'm an actress. I must. You know, you don't do it for the money, usually. And I think you're called to it, and so I feel called. Well, I think I wanted to act ever since I was, you know, out of the womb, and I was always very dramatic and singing and dancing. I could sing before I could talk. So how did I get started? I did everything that I could in church. I always did little plays. In school, I was always the lead in every kind of play. I was always the lead in the musicals. And then I went to college for it. Every kind of role. I've played not a whole lot of ingenues, but some ingenues, mostly leading lady. I do Shakespeare, I do on camera, I do comedy, tragedy, you name it, everything. People used to always say, what's your favorite role that you've ever done? And I would always say the role that I just played. But that changed when I did Hedda Gabler with the Arden Theater Company in the late 90s. It was a really amazing experience from beginning to end. And so that was a favorite, which is kind of a classical leading lady, sort of tormented, complex, psychological. But I love doing Rosalind and As You Like It. I did that twice at the Orlando Shakespeare Festival and the Delaware Theater Company. And she is full of love and light and so articulate and full of language. I love doing that. I've done some experimental stuff that I really enjoy doing. And I love bringing home the bacon. I love doing my voiceover work and just, you know, screaming about mayonnaise and getting paid a lot of money. I like it all. Acting is finding where a truth resonates in you, and when it resonates on a molecular level, like a Stradivarius, like the Stradivarius violin, if you play that in a symphony hall and there's a Stradivarius on the other side of the room, it will reverberate, it will resonate because of the true, pure tone that happens in the other. It will happen, and I believe that's that way with an audience. So I think that's what it is. It's finding that resonance so that you can help them to resonate. Maybe I'm unique in thinking that I feel like I'm there for them. It's what they need from me. I can't dictate that they need to cry or laugh or be hungry or whatever they need to be. I hope I get their attention. I hope they listen, but that's on me. That's my job. They're, you know, pretty much 85% a willing participant coming into the situation, and if I can capture them for a moment, I'm happy. Oh yeah, that's why I do it, because it's I'm fully utilized. I'm trying to remember blocking and lines. I'm trying to remember what the director said to me. I'm trying to completely forget all that stuff and be here now with this other person that and then I have to, well, there's a baby in the 5th row crying, so my next line, which is a punchline, has got to be louder. Or someone coughed right on the setup of that, and I've got to, you know, or oh my God, he jumped his line and now they missed this important piece of information. I am so, you know, like I feel like there's a third eye, you know, and yet at the same time you're trying to let go of all of that. So it's the most fully utilized, and that's why I love doing it. Well, your goal, which is an impossible goal, is to become the other person. And if I became that other person, I would be insane. So, you know, that's not quite what I'm trying to do. I'm an artist and I have a craft, and I'm trying to bring as much as myself, but I'm also trying to bring as much of himself and herself and these other forms of humanity, these other resonances into who I am. So there's moments when I am a medium and they live through me and myself is forgotten, and there's moments when that can't happen. So it's kind of a balancing act. I'm going to be doing Taming of the Shrew. I'll be Kate up at the Pennsylvania Shakespeare Festival, and then I'll be doing a Lee Blessing play called Going to St. Ives at Cape May Stage. And then I gotta take a break from theater because I gotta be with my 3-year-old and make some money and have a life. Theater pays so little and takes so much time that I think I want to concentrate a little more on the voiceover work. I can never stop doing it. I love the theater, but I'm also on the board of the theater company, Brat Productions, and I'm very involved in them, and that helps keep my feet wet, but doesn't take as much time as being in a show. And that's going to be at the Wilma at the end of June 24th or 29th, 24-hour bald soprano. So you buy one ticket, and it's an hour long, so you come from 7 to 8 or whatever, and then you can come back at 2 in the morning, 4 in the morning, 11 the next day. It runs for a full 24 hours. You can come for 15 minutes and leave and come back for another. It's really fun. Trust yourself. Do as much as you can. Train your body. Take dance class, take martial arts, get some vocal training. Everybody wants to be an actor, and they all want to do the scenes. And, you know, okay, if you're Jasmine Guy, you don't have to have vocal training, and you can get out there and do it. But not everybody is that. Not everybody's playing themselves on a TV show. If you want to be a full, rounded actor, get training and get out there and do it. Jenny Grace Gonglewski. I'm an actress and a mother.
Well, that's going to do it for tonight's episode of the Actors Lounge. We hope you had a great time. We'll see you next time.
And stand by, fade to black. That's a wrap. Thank you.